Centuries ago, famed mathematician Katherine Johnson wrote, "The whole idea of going into space was new and daring. There were no textbooks, so we had to write them." Now, the United Federation of Planets stands on a new brink of exploration and learning, yet again pushing beyond the bounds of contemporary understanding, and for a new dawn proclaim proudly once again, these are the Voyages of.
Captain's Log. The next chapter of our mission in the Gamma Quadrant begins with the departure of multiple members of the senior staff and a new crew to replace them. The USS Binary has joined us as the second ship in the quadrant, officially making the USS Cerynitis the flagship of the Gamma Quadrant fleet. We have invited members of several other governments and species to join us at a diplomatic conference in the Alphren system, not far from the wormhole. Members of the Klingon, Romulan, and Cardassian empires, and some of the lesser-known species of the Dominion have joined us in our state-of-the-art diplomatic suites. These 3 days of meetings should lead to a better understanding of what to expect moving forward in our exploration of this quadrant.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Voyages of. We're using the Star Trek Adventure System from Modiphius. This stream is not affiliated nor endorsed by Modiphius, but we are going to have a good time anyway. This is our new stream. Welcome. I've got 4 players with me tonight, all of which are long-term friends of mine that I trust implicitly, except for that Shawn guy. He's kind of sketchy down there in Texas. So let's do some introductions real quick, and then we'll get right into the game. Amber, let's start with you. Tell us your character, and we'll get started from there.
All right, I am playing Commander Harada. She's the first officer. So she's in the command track. She's a Cation, so she's a cat person. They're about the same height as humans, a little bit leaner. They have feline features and fur, and she's been in Starfleet for 8 years.
Fantastic. Rob, how about your character?
I am playing Commander Chevrin. He is the Strategic Operations Officer for the system. He is an Andorian male, blue skin, white hair with antenna coming up. He is an older gentleman. In human terms, he'd be probably mid-60s, and he's a lifelong fleet member.
Fantastic. Shawn, let's hear about your character.
Playing Lieutenant Commander Keed Haskins. I'm the Chief Medical Officer for the Cerynitis. I've been in Starfleet for 5 years, and I am half Klingon, half human. My build, I'm a little taller than the average human, but I am not as bulky as most Klingons. I've got more of a wiry build, kind of a lighter haired. Lost my word. It's kind of reddish.
Sure.
Not the normal dark Klingon coloration. Everything about me is just more subtle than your normal Klingon.
Fantastic. And Phil, let's hear about your character.
Playing Zeke Cooper. He's kind of in the command track, because he's playing a ambassador role, but he's also kind of in the medical track because he also plays the ship's counselor. Got kind of a dual role. He's a lieutenant commander, human. He's 5'11", not like bulky, but he's well toned. He kind of takes care of his body, and he's actually clean shaven, unlike me, and very neatly dressed, unlike me. And that's Zeke.
Fantastic. And I'm Matt. I'll be playing everybody else. So a couple things about the game. We're on the USS Cerynitis, which is a Galaxy class ship. You can see that on your screen in the upper right. This is just exactly the same type of ship that is in the Next Generation. Lots of crew on it, so lots of potential other players, other characters that we can meet. We are in the Gamma Quadrant, which is kind of out there as far as being far away from Starfleet. So the Cerynitis is on its own in some ways. There is another ship out, as you heard in the captain's log, the USS Binary, but is a much smaller ship and it's very science focused, not a powerhouse by any means. And the Cerynitis is officially the flagship of the Gamma Quadrant. So characters like Chevren have uh, kind of a larger role than just something on the ship, like a security officer. Chevren will be looking at a wider view of the Gamma Quadrant as a whole and looking at fleet operations from that aspect. Tonight, we are going to start our tale in the Alphren system. Not too far from the wormhole that would take people from Deep Space Nine into the Gamma Quadrant is the Alphren system. It's a system of 6 planets, all of which are uninhabitable. Uh, we find ourselves, or the Alphren star itself is a blue supergiant, um, and it is around the 4th planet that we find a meeting of 9 ships. There is the Cerynitis, obvious, 2 Klingon science vessels, 2 Romulan science vessels, a Romulan warbird, a Cardassian Galar class ship, and then 2 Dominion style trading ships. Um, and as we kind of zoom in through the window on the 10th deck of the front of the ship, we find ourselves in the Dapple Doe. The Dapple Doe is the meeting place for the crew, kind of a bar and a restaurant. It's a place for people to get together. It's not just the 10th deck, though. It also is the 9th deck. There's quite a bit of space because this ship is specifically designed and laid out for diplomatic use. Among other things, there's a lot of science that still will happen, a lot of engineering feats that will go on. But the main focus of the Cerynitis is diplomacy, which is why we have Zeke, along with, honestly, Commander Halata, and even Commander Chevren. In this instance, the Dapple Doe is big windows that look out on space is giving a great view of the Class J gas giant, the 4th planet of the Alphren system, and its swirling blues and reds. And we find that there are delegations from each of the ships. The intention here today is some directives that we're going to set out. So in the Star Trek Adventures game, we set directives for every story, and the directives here are to meet with the other crews, make connections with them, get to know them because they're all going to be operating in the Dominion or in the Gamma Quadrant, and then most importantly, because of the past between the Federation and the Dominion, find out what the 2 species from the Dominion are doing here and why they've chosen to attend a diplomatic conference. These are 2 less politically motivated species from the Dominion. It's if we look back at the stories that have already been told, you see a lot of the Vorta, which are kind of the diplomats and the politicians within the Dominion. These are 2 very uh, commerce focused species, the Tarogaran and the Karima. And the Tarogaran are a very kind of robust and aggressive trading species, um, while the Karima are much more full of guile and will manipulate their trade agreements. So both have a very different look at how they handle things, and because of the way the Dominion's set up, they're kind of independent and allowed to work how they want. But finding themselves on a Federation ship is a unique situation. So, um, let's start with Commander Halata. The first question is, Commander, the captain is there with you. The captain is Crenfel Threx, a member of the Denobulan species. You saw him during the captain's log. He's a very jovial and friendly captain. Um, but he's there with you. He has been chatting people up. This is kind of a meet and greet at the beginning of this conference. Nothing serious has been discussed yet, and there's no intention to discuss anything serious. Although scientists and engineers do typically get into the the nitty gritty sometimes when they get around others of their own interests. So it's possible that could happen. But Commander, where are you? Are you sticking with the other members of the senior staff that are there, or are you kind of going off on your own and speaking with people?
I'm pretty interested in talking to the merchants and figuring out why they're here. So
Fantastic, fantastic. Is anyone else accompanying her?
I'm going to be generally circulating the room, but I'm
Okay,
not necessarily going specifically with the. In fact,
fantastic.
I'm probably going to be sticking away from other Starfleet officers.
Okay. So Uh, oh, I'm sorry. The other thing we need to do is start with some momentum and some threat, which I'm touching. I should realize that I need to put that out there. So in the system, as we get tasks that we're rolling to see if we can succeed, we will generate successes, and if we generate more successes than we need, we will generate momentum with those that can be spent to further enhance that role in some way or another. It can create opportunities. It can create problems for the other side. It can gain more information, and in combat, it does a whole myriad of things that we'll touch about on when we get to the combat end of things. So normally we would start with four or one per player of the momentum. Tonight,
moment.
I'm dialing it down. This is a less heavy drama, heavy action game, so we're going to dial that down to just two. And then normally with threat, depending on how dangerous the story is going to be, the threat typically starts about around two per player. Tonight, I'm just starting it at two. Again, this is lower stakes, hypothetically. Who knows? Um, and it should just be enough to get us kind of started. Um, you will see up on the screen, we're going to be cycling through a lot of our stats. So you'll see the characters, you'll see the ship stats. Those will come up as we roll, and we'll explain that as we go. And we're about to do that, actually. So, Commander, as you approach, there are two Karima standing there speaking. As you approach, one of them um, politely bows away and lets the other gentleman kind of step forward, and you know that he's the captain of the Karima trading vessel, and he nods at you as you approach, waiting for you to make introductions.
Hello, I'm Commander Halata, the first officer of the Cerynitis. And you are?
I'm Captain Amathar of the Karima trading vessel. Um, it's a pleasure to meet you, Commander. I'm very happy that we could make uh, this event.
I'm very pleased to see you here. Uh, the are the is the lounge to your liking? Is there anything that you need?
I've been very impressed by your food. While I know that prior to the war, there was a lot of tula berries that left the Dominion trade, uh, the Dominion Trade Federation, or Trade Guild, to come to the Alpha and Beta quadrants. Um, we haven't had a lot of chance to taste a lot of what could have come from your species, and I'm very impressed by some of the food here and the drinks. They are We have alcohol, but ours is not nearly this strong. It's much more um, subdued, I would say.
Sure. More about the flavor of the drink and less about the alcohol content.
Yes, but I really like the fact that I can choose to just ignore it. I believe it's called synthahol allows me to
Yeah.
just. It's a very interesting effect, and I like that quite a bit. Um, could I get you, Amber? Could I get you to roll a presence and command for me? So to do this, you're
Absolutely.
going to take your presence and command and add them together, and whatever that number is your goal. You want that or under. And you're going to roll 2d20 and independently compare those to that number, and the number of successes you get will be determined on whether or not you got under. The difficulty on this is 1, and as always, command or bonuses or criticals are at 1. I believe you have a diplomacy specialization. Is that correct?
I believe so. There's
Focus.
a
I'm
lot of
sorry.
things open.
That's okay.
Yes, I do have a diplomacy focus. I also have disarming nature. So if this is to make him relax or trust me, the difficulty is actually 1 lower.
Oh, so it'll be a difficulty of 0 then. So basically, you're just going to generate a bunch of momentum. So go for it. And as always, you can buy more dice if you want to roll more dice by spending threat and/or momentum.
So you said command plus presence, right?
Yes, please. And then you're going to crit on anything under your command of 5 or under.
I got 1 success.
Okay, fantastic. So you're going to generate 1 momentum. Did you want to spend that momentum on anything?
Let's see.
It's never bad to build the
I'd like to
pool
use
up.
it to,
Go ahead.
I'd like to use it to obtain information, see if I can get more like
Sure, sure. So one
out
of
of
the options is to obtain information. So this is in this instance, you'll ask me a question, and it can be kind of vague. What kind of question would you like to ask me?
so what brings you here? What are you interested in learning about with this
Well,
gathering?
as I said, we've not had a lot of Federation or even Romulan and Klingon, or we've had some Cardassian foods come through. The Klingon foods are interesting, um, much more alive than I would prefer. But
Sure.
I understand the Federation is kind of very wide in how it's not just Klingons, it's not just Romulans. You have a myriad of different species, which means a myriad of different foods that we could either import or start learning how to make, or even bring, um, you know, celebrated chefs from your worlds here, and maybe get them a wider audience to try their delicacies. That
You're a
seems like a
culinary enthusiast.
yeah. It seems like a lot of potential for profit.
Wonderful. I'm actually an amateur cook, so this is just
Oh, oh,
fascinating that that's what you're interested in.
so what kind of food do your people focus on?
So my people tend to eat different things than I actually cook. I've been trying to learn human recipes because it's interesting to me.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Okay. Um, well, I would be happy to discuss more. What you would suggest, maybe, um, if there are delicacies or things that you have noticed or had a chance to try over your time in Starfleet. Um, I'd be very interested in finding out more about those.
Excellent.
We're gonna switch over to Zeke. Zeke, you kind of have distanced yourself slightly from the rest of the Starfleet crew. So you're swimming in a lot of Klingons. I have a list of the important ones, but there are more than just that. Large groups of their crew have come aboard. The Cerynitis is acting as kind of a shore leave for a lot of them. There's things here like the holodecks that they don't have on other ships, especially the Klingon ships that are more function over uh, form. So they've kind of come over, and the Klingons are a little loud. The Romulans are a little suspect. The Cardassians are very suspect because that's just kind of what they are. Where do you find yourself gravitating?
So, at least in my mind, a good diplomat's going to really try to work the room, make sure
Sure.
that he talks to not just the big wigs, but the smaller wigs, if you will. Um, so, one of Zeke's traits is that he does a lot of preparation. So he would have definitely known as much as he could have about any of the players that were coming. So he'd be looking to see all of the players and to touch on them, and then to express that he's kind of already he knows something about them, and like not in like a creepy way or whatever, just like,
Yep.
hey, I heard that you like this and it's over there or something, that kind of a thing. And then also specifically looking for anybody who's not there but should be there.
Okay. So the majority of the senior staff is here. The only one that's missing is Lieutenant Commander Tox Garahar, the operations manager, and you know that he is on duty on the bridge. He drew the short straw is really what it came down to. But everybody else is here, even the other players that aren't here. And that's something that our viewers at home should know. There's more players than just the four of these crew members. We've got myself included, five other characters that are going to be playing throughout this season. So they're all here except Tox, um, who is my character. That's why I keep calling him Tox. Um, but they everybody seems to be here. The Klingons are being as rowdy as you would expect, but there is one that's kind of standing off by himself. He does have the markings of a captain. I would assume that you would have done the research for that. Um, but he seems to be enjoying just some, like, you guys, as part of your preparation, you did put together some Cardassian, some Romulan, and some Klingon foods. Not a lot, because there's not a lot that you can do in this kind of situation. But you'd put together a little bit, and then you put out some interesting stuff from the Federation, including like guacamole and chips. And he is just eating plain chips, just by themselves. That's it. He's just standing over by the table and eating them, and you can see crew members coming and refilling things, not causing a problem, but he's sitting over there drinking, and he's drinking water, and he is watching your chief medical officer.
So not in a direct way in any manner, but I would try to work my way over there to just check on him. I would not, certainly start off by saying like, "Why are you checking out
No,
the
no, yeah, absolutely.
medical officer?" But just not try to make it seem as though just in my normal progression throughout the room, I'm gonna check in on him and how
Sure.
he's doing.
Can I get you to give me an insight and command roll?
Sure.
Um, we're gonna set the difficulty at 2 to kind of get a read off of him. Um, Klingons tend to be a little intense, and so him staring at um, another crew member who is at least part Klingon, not out of the ordinary, but kind of getting a read off of that intensity is a little difficult.
Okay. So insight plus con for me is 15. My
Sure.
I'm sorry, insight plus command. You said
Command,
sorry.
command,
That's
yeah.
14.
Okay.
Um, and I have diplomacy as a well. This is probably I have psychiatry as a focus. So would
That
that
sounds perfect.
increase my critical range?
Yep. Anything 3 and under.
I got a 10 and a 13, so they're both successes,
Okay, so that's
but no
enough.
criticals. Yeah.
That's enough to put you at your success, but it won't generate any momentum. Not a problem though. Um, uh, what you notice is that he has the marking of a house. You're not. There are a lot of Klingon houses, and you're not familiar enough. You know that it is one of one of the minor houses that sits on that has a member on the council, which means that his house is important. It's not. He's definitely not from a non-noble house. You
Okay.
just don't recognize the actual house insignia. It just looks like a bunch of sharpness to you, because that's what a lot of them look like. You're just not familiar enough with it. But the look in his eyes, though, is one of um, like as though he's found something, not in a bad way, just that he's very happy to see your medical officer.
Okay. So I'm considering if there's any questions I'd want to ask by using the group's momentum. Because I do have a talent that would actually give me 2 questions
Nice,
um,
nice.
when we spend momentum to obtain information. Um, but you've already told me that he seems to be happy about what he's seen.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
real quick, while you deliberate over that for a second. So everybody's going to have some focuses. They're going to have 6 focuses that are specific to how they built their character and how they were raised and where. Those focuses are going to allow their critical range to increase to their whatever their skill is. So skills are going to be on the right hand side of the character sheets that you see flipping through. It's command, con, security, engineering, science, and medicine. Those are the skills. So that will increase their critical range to those as long as it fits. So uh, Amber was using um, diplomacy, so her critical range was under her command, and uh, Zeke Phil has been using psychiatry, so his fell underneath his command as well. So anything that would have been under those would have been a crit instead of just a 1. They're also going to have talents, and all the talents are very different, and they are very like they dial in extra and gives you extra things. So, for instance, like Phil said, if he spends 1 momentum, normally he would get 1 question. Phil has a talent. What's the name of the talent, Phil?
that is studious.
So he will get to ask 2 questions.
Yeah,
So that's actually a pretty big bonus. So
yeah. Um, so if it's okay with the group, I think I will spend one of the group's momentum. Um, so you said that it was a minor house. I want to take in his appearance a little bit more closely. Is he like presenting himself well, or is he kind of, maybe not paying a lot of attention to his appearance, able to take care of his appearance?
he is dressed in um aren't like a light body armor, which is what you would expect from Klingons. It is his house insignia and his the strap across his chest, which I have forgotten the name for, are very well polished and clean. He does have his house dagger at his side, which is appropriate, even though your chief security probably had a fit about it. The captain made it clear that as long as it doesn't get drawn, there's no worry, and if it does get drawn, that's where she gets to work, or he gets to work. So that gives some opportunity. Um, but he seems to be holding himself quite well. He It's possible he's the only Klingon not drinking like
Mhm.
alcohol.
So I think the second question I'd like to ask is, does um, he seem open to being approached and discussion, or is he so focused or doing anything else that would make it seem like he doesn't want to be bothered or interacted with?
He hasn't shooed anyone away. Anytime anyone has come over, he has engaged them in conversation. It hasn't been very long conversation, but it has been enough to see that he is talking to them and not just dismissing them.
Okay.
And it didn't matter, uh, Romulan or Cardassian or any Starfleet officer. He hasn't. It didn't matter who it was. He's been seemingly polite, which also is interesting. Uh, Klingons, when they don't want to do something, are very very vocal. So
Yeah. So I think that I'd just try to engage him in some light conversation. I'm assuming this is kind of the first big kickoff event after
yeah,
people have gotten onto the ship. Right.
yeah. And the captain has greeted everyone, and normally you or the first officer would have greeted them with him, but there were just so many people coming on the ship that you didn't get to meet everybody, and you have
Right.
not met this man.
So I just approach, introduce myself again, ask him if there's anything I can do or help him with, if there's anything I can do to make the party more enjoyable.
He says, "You are, I believe, Commander Cooper, correct?
Correct.
The ambassador here on the ship."
Yes,
So I don't think that we were officially introduced. I am Captain Fasork of House Strata.
it is an honor to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you as well. Thank you. Tell me, find it. I know that there have been Klingons in the past serving in Starfleet, but I find it interesting that one would find his way into the medical track. That is your chief medical officer over there, is it not?
Yes, yes. That is now I've forgotten his Lieutenant Commander Keed. Would you like me to introduce you?
Can you roll, let's say, presence in command?
Presence and command. Sure.
And diplomacy will work here.
Okay. Do I know what my target number of successes is?
Yes, absolutely do. Sorry, I am terrible at that. One success is what you're looking for.
All right, then I'm not gonna buy a die. I have 2 successes. Neither of them are critical. A 13 and a 5, which my presence plus command is 13. I guess
You're gonna
I'm tied.
you are gonna generate momentum from that.
Yeah.
Would you like to just go to the pool, or
Yes, I will pay back the pool.
so that'll put us back at 2 momentum in the pool? He says, yeah, let's, and he kind of thumps you on the chest with the back of his hand, not in an aggressive way, but like a very Klingon way, just like let's do that. And then he strides, expecting you to follow.
Yeah, I'm not gonna upset any boats right now.
Sure. Keed, what are you doing?
I've been circling the event, trying the best I can to keep non-Klingons between me and the other Klingons. I
Sure.
don't really have that much of an interest to get into a honor match with the other Klingons.
Fair. Okay. So striding towards you is the captain of one of the Klingon ships. Zeke is, I wouldn't say following, but definitely not leading him over there. Uh, and as they approach, whoever you're talking to just kind of disappears. The stride isn't aggressive so much as it's Klingon, which is also aggressive. So they just kind of find someone else to talk to. Um, and as he approaches, he says, Kapla.
Law Captain.
You are Commander Haskins.
Lieutenant Commander Haskins, yes.
You're the medical officer here.
Chief Medical Officer.
I'm Captain Vasork of House Strata. It's a pleasure to meet you, cousin.
At that name, I'm like, I close my eyes like, oh, great. Pleasure to meet you as well, Captain.
He rapidly comes in for a hug.
Stiff. I mean, he'll wrap his arms around me, and I'm like very
It
stiff.
it is a very aggressive and like strong hug, one that you would give to another warrior.
Right, right.
And can I get you to roll, let's say, insight and medicine? Actually, let's take that back. Insight and security. Let's do that. I know you're probably not very good at those things. Sorry. At
She
least
got
not
one
security.
success.
Hey, there you go. Well, the target was one that I should have told you ahead of time. I'm sorry. Uh, he's greeting you as a warrior, which means that not necessarily he's ignoring your station, but that he is giving you a compliment.
Right.
And as he steps back, he gives you a solid pat on the shoulder, and he says, "I had heard that Tradovi had a child. It was rumored.
Well,
I didn't
obviously you
know it
didn't.
until I saw those ridges.
Huh. Apparently, you didn't hear it from her.
No, she. I'm sure she would find it a great dishonor.
But yeah, considering she abandoned me when she was called
Does
back to the Empire.
I wouldn't speak ill of a family member, but that does sound like a dishonorable action.
Well, apparently she decided her standing in the Empire was worth more than maintaining a relationship with myself.
Well, it's a pleasure to see that another of our family is out here in the Gamma Quadrant. Maybe maybe that'll make things easier between the Klingons and the Federation as we move forward.
Well, I mean, I'm always happy to facilitate anything between Klingons and better relationships.
Now, I will tell you, and he kind of puts his hand on your shoulder, and unless you stop him, he puts his hand on your shoulder and doesn't. It's not like he's hurting you on purpose, but he definitely grabs hold. He says, "Now I'll tell you, I'm on a ship full of scientists. Please tell me that
And
you can at least spar."
well, I can spar. In fact, if you have you ever
Excellent, excellent. Maybe not right now. There's too much merriment, and the men are even scientists drink. It turns out. Um, but perhaps later you and I could check our metal.
I'm gonna look at him kind of slyly and like, have you ever played Peercy squares?
No, but I've heard that it is not just a difficult game, but dangerous.
And I'd be happy to introduce you to it.
That would be fantastic. While I know you Federation types enjoy your games, I think that some games can be even more fun when they're dangerous.
It's not an undue thought, but
He
Peercy squares is definitely going to test your mettle and your resolve.
he lets go of your shoulder and turns to Zeke and grabs you by the shoulder. It's a strong grip. What about you, Commander? Will you join us as well?
I'd be happy to.
Good, good, good. That's decided. Um, the whatever was going on with him while he was standing there watching Keed has kind of melted away. It's as though he has lost some tension about the situation, and he just seems to be a little less intense while still being very intense. Um, let's switch over to Chagrin. What have you been doing while this is all been going on?
He's been keeping an eye out on the uh, kind of gathering as a whole. He will put himself between the Klingons and Commander Haskins as much as he can, trying to not let it show that's what he's doing. But he can definitely tell that there's some tension there.
Sure, sure. Anybody specifically you would be talking to?
I think he is going to spend a good bit of time with the Klingon representatives.
Good. So you find yourself speaking with Captain Tuvos. Um, he is the captain of the Toivel, which is one of the two ships. It's also a science vessel. Um, and he says, you guys have been talking for a while. He's been very physical in his interaction with you. Nothing aggressive. Well, nothing harmful. It's all very
Mhm.
aggressive, but it's what you've come to expect from Klingons when they're having a good time. He is,
Yes.
were he human or most Federation species, he's like 18 sheets to the wind. But as a Klingon, seems to be holding it a lot better, but still pretty drunk. And it's clear that while there's a bunch of synthahol here, the Klingons brought some blood wine, and that's what he's been drinking. So it's not, he's not, there's no fake drunk here. He is full drunk. Um, and he says, so you, I see your hand.
Yeah. Yes.
What battle did you lose that in?
Was my ship went down during the Dominion War.
Was it a,
Crash landed on a. Pardon?
was it a glorious fight?
It was a mistake of a fight.
Oh, well, it's, but I've heard that Federation doctors are miracle workers, to be honest. But you still
They
lost your
are at
hand.
that. Yes.
You still lost your hand.
Uh, Unfortunately, I was. The ship landed on a uninhabited planet where I stayed for most of a year.
I see. It's my understanding that you used to be a captain.
Yes, yes. I stepped down after the Dominion War.
I see. And now you just watch over the quadrant and make sure everything is strategically sound for your people.
Yes, I try to keep the place safe.
Sounds like you're exactly what I would expect from Andorian. So I've heard that there have been concerns um, about Dominion activity. I know that I honestly have not read the treaty. That's for politicians and diplomats, not for warriors. What concerns do you have?
The peace we have is a tentative one. Sides are still hot-headed, trying to make cooler heads prevail amongst the recently peace-finding folks has been a bit of an issue.
War brings out a lot of heat on both sides. I know
Declare.
the Federation is not. They don't find the joy in battle that the Klingons do, but I know that there are several of you that have scars, both physically and otherwise, from the war. Do you find it hard
I
to
can
look
tell you.
them? Go ahead.
I can tell you there are those within the Federation who do find a lot of joy in conflict. I was one of them for a very long time.
Can I get you to roll presence and command for me?
All right. What is this in regards to?
So this is just your interaction in general with him. We're going to set
Okay.
it at a difficulty of 2 to kind of push past just a general like friendliness into more of a camaraderie.
Okay. Let's see. So I am trying to get under a. You said presence and command.
Yeah.
All right. So that would be a 13, and I have 2 successes.
Fantastic. So that's enough. No momentum for the pool. That's not a problem. Says, yeah, I have found. I found that there are many times that I have had to question whether or not the Dominion ships we see are worth fighting. I'm not on a battle cruiser by any means, but there's no honor lost investigating scientific nebulas or whatever. The crew takes care of that. I just make sure that we don't die. Are you finding things a little on edge here?
Can I do a read of the room to figure out?
Yeah, that would be, let's say, insight and what kind of read on the room? Or for
Um,
just general emotion stuff or
yeah,
danger?
yeah.
Okay. Let's say insight and command.
Insight and command. So again, that's 13. Could I use my talent cold reading on this?
Remind me what the talent says.
Um, it's succeeding in the task during social conflicts generate a bonus momentum, which I have to use for the gather information.
Then yeah, absolutely. That sounds great.
Excellent. That would be 2 successes.
Okay.
7 and a 3.
Okay. So I'm sorry, your difficulty, which I needed to set, was a 1. So you will generate 1 momentum. Which and then you get a bonus momentum from cold reading, right?
Yes.
That you have to
Yes.
spend on obtain information.
Yeah. So I will
Okay.
generate 1 momentum pool, and then use my bonus momentum to gather information to sort of figure out how the delegates are feeling about each other, in addition to just sort of the general.
There's a ton of distrust between the Romulans and the Cardassians, which is not unsurprising. Um,
Mhm.
there's a concern from everyone about the Klingons. You got a bunch of drunk Klingons in a room. No one's gotten stabbed yet. That's just a boiler waiting to erupt. The Federation crew seems to be doing really well. Zeke's got several of his staff in here, and they are both like moving people around so that they interact, but also they seem to be smoothing things so that things aren't erupting. Which
Excellent.
There's a lot going on, but there are several of his staff that are kind of moving through the room and doing those things. As far as everyone except the Federation is really eyeing the two Dominion captains. It's an unknown,
Mm-hmm.
so that could be part of it, but there is definitely something there. So we'll say that's your read. Do you have a specific question from your momentum?
Not particularly, no. I just wanted to make sure that
Sure.
sort of if anyone's acting extra, like putting on a show, like they're trying to show that they're more relaxed than they are or
Sure.
more
Uh,
aggressive than they are.
you have a focus in tactics, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So this doesn't pertain directly to that, but you would at least know enough. Um, there are 3 Romulan captains. I'm sorry, there are 3 Romulans that are captaining a ship. 2 of them are commanders, which would be the appropriate rank for that. One is a major. And what you know is that the major is not standard Romulan military. They are a member of the Tal Shiar, which for our viewers at home, the Tal Shiar is it's like the CIA of Romulus, only if like the CIA were the most ruthless ever that they could possibly be and had no problem like literally stabbing their own people in the back. They are they are they are intelligence gathering to a very nth degree. They'll do whatever they have to. The the captain is aware that there's a Tal Shiar member on the ship. He greeted everyone. But the captain hasn't seemed to have any. So
Pardon, I think you cut out there for a second,
I'm
at least
sorry.
on my end.
The captain is aware that there's a Tal Shiar member on the ship, but he has so far had not had to seem to have a problem with it. He's greeted
Okay.
everyone. But none of this seems to really have phased him. But also, the captain's just a friendly guy. Like that's his shtick. As much as the first officer also is very personable and friendly, the captain takes it to like the ship is his family, and this is a family. This is like a family cookout. That's how he's treating this. Everybody's welcome here. Bring your dish. Bring your blood wine. It's good. We're gonna have a good time, and we'll learn some stuff. We'll play some Peercy squares, and somebody will get murdered. Whatever. So he hasn't said anything, but there's some tension there. There's some underlying tension there that's kind of behind the scenes from the Cardassians and the Klingons. They've all noticed it. The 2 Dominion species have not, but they also may not know.
All right.
Says I tell you, the being this far from Klingon space, I know we need to learn more about the universe, and the scientists need places to do that. But it does leave me feel a little insecure. I'm hoping that were we to need it, the Federation would be willing to fight by our sides.
The Federation will do what is needed to maintain peace.
I've always looked at the Khitomer Accords favorably. I think the Federation are an honorable foe, but not everything needs to be fought all the time. I hope that your captain and your first officer will keep that in mind.
I have made it my mission to begin waging peace.
as you guys kind of move around and continue to talk, the captain of the Cardassian ship approaches Commander Halada. You recognize him. It's Gul Kenny that you met a few weeks ago on a routine distress call while you were coming on your way out to the Cerynitis. And he approaches, um, and he is carrying a bottle of Kanar that he has emptied some out of, and he's carrying an extra glass. And as he approaches, he says, "The captain told me that he wasn't much of a drinker, so I'm hoping you'll try some." And he hands you the empty glass and moves to pour.
Yeah.
So to give you an
Sure.
idea, so Kanar is like this like amber golden kind of shimmery liquid that's thick like pancake batter. And most species cannot stand the taste, but Cardassians are they run much colder, like blood wise, like their heat. So they have to have temperatures much higher than normal and a higher humidity than most species. They love this stuff. It's like blood wine to Klingons, Andorian ale to Andorians, and Anheuser Busch to humans. Like this is the thing. Phil's over there going, no. This is the thing
Yeah.
that they serve at most functions. And he pours you some. Would you like to try it?
I mean, I imagine that I've drunk it before, what with being around the treaty so much. So I think I've developed at least the ability not to gag.
Sure. It is the least offensive Kanar you've ever had, which means it's still pretty offensive.
Sure.
Yeah. He says, Commander, I am glad to see you. I'm glad that we got invited to this little conference. How have things been since we last saw each other?
Good to see you again as well. I've just been settling in, getting to know my crew. It's a very large ship, so that's been most of what I've been doing.
Yes. There are this is an impressive ship. I like what Cardassia puts out. I think that the Galar class and the Keldon class are fantastic specimens of military ships. But this isn't just a military ship. But it offers so much more. A multi-purpose vehicle like this is it's hard to find in the Cardassian Empire. Or the Cardassian Republic. I think it's the Republic now. I apologize.
Fine, it takes time for those things to sink in.
I'm not sure if you got the report on the prisoners.
I believe I had, but go ahead and refresh me. It's been a busy couple weeks.
There was an attempt at a breakout as we were going through the wormhole, and unfortunately, in the firefight, I lost a few of my security officers, and the prisoners were also killed.
I'm very sorry for your loss.
I felt that if you hadn't heard, this would be the time to.
And it is unfortunate that we'll be unable to.
Yeah. I'm glad that you were there to help save the poor traders.
That we won't be able to track that pirate ring down more, but
yes, I'm hoping that some of the information on their ship was useful, but I don't know how much information you got off of it. And as far as you are aware, no one's broken the encryptions yet. They're bad. Like they're well done, is what I should say. The encryptions on the pirate ship.
We are still working on that.
I understand. These pirates have been.
They are.
They've proven to be quite cunning. I'm impressed and a little concerned. There's just so many ships out here in the Gamma Quadrant now that just
Sure.
are not protected as they should.
And any foe that you're impressed with is automatically an extra danger. So
Agreed. He pours himself some more Kanar. He tops your glass off, and he says, "So the the major over there. Do you feel like that this is the safest decision to allow a member of the Tal Shiar on your ship?"
in a controlled environment, we are aware he's here. We're keeping an eye on him. There's nothing here that would cause damage, and we are technically allies at this time, like at peace at this point in time. So
Guess that's fair. You can't watch your enemies if they don't come to anything you do. I have I have continued my patrols watching for the pirates, but I haven't seen anything. We haven't done a whole lot of work with science, and I know that's the majority of what your ship and others out here are discussing. I am I to understand there's a second Federation ship in the Gamma Quadrant now. Is that correct?
that is correct.
We haven't had a chance to do a lot of science work, and not that that's our primary mission. Our primary mission was to come out here and see if we could find any Cardassians that had been left behind during the war. But I've had very little success there either.
We will definitely keep an eye out for you as well.
I was hoping that perhaps if you did find anyone, you could let us know and pass that information along, especially if it were, you know, a small ship or maybe something that was damaged. If any aid that you could render, I know Cardassia would look well upon that.
Yes, that is definitely something that we would be willing to do.
Excellent. Is there anything that the Brevik can do for you? That's the name of his ship.
Honestly, keeping an eye on those pirates and trying to track them down is exceedingly valuable. We want ships to be safe coming in and out of the quadrant.
Well, we will continue to pass along any intelligence about that as we find it. Be happy to do that. If you do eventually make your way into that computer, you'll let me know, I'm sure.
Yes, we'll share anything that's tactically relevant to you.
Fantastic. So, good. So Zeke, you and
This is
mhm. Go ahead. Did you say something, Amber? Okay. Zeke, you and
no, it's fine. I was just going to comment on the Kanar to him.
Zeke, you and Keed, the Captain Vossork
I said,
has
no, it's
kind of
fine. I was just going to comment on the Kanar to him.
Captain Vossork has kind of wandered off and has begun to join in on the drinking.
Fabulous.
I'm sorry.
Fabulous.
The other Klingons are giving you a little distance. There was clearly a positive interaction, and whatever they may think, they're not going to argue with their captain here, at least. Are the two of you kind of staying together? Are you splitting up?
I would probably kind of at the end of that interaction or whatever kind of nod at Keed, and then I'd probably try to go back to mingling with people who aren't Starfleet.
Fantastic.
So not leaving like I'm upset or anything, but just like I've got work to do.
As you kind of wander, you find yourselves close to kind of a cluster of Romulans. Actually, I'm guessing Romulans come into murders, would be my guess. Um, but there's a commander standing there speaking with a couple other lower ranking Romulans. As you approach, the other Romulans step back and let the commander kind of stand forward, allowing you to greet her. And she says, "Greetings, Ambassador. I am Commander Terrail."
Commander, a pleasure to meet you. I did not mean to intrude upon your conversation.
No. We were discussing a quasar that we had found. It was emitting some strange radiation, and my junior officers are very excited about getting back to it. Not that we don't appreciate the hospitality, we do, but as I'm sure you're aware, being surrounded by scientists get excited about some things a lot more than others, and parties are not nearly as interesting as radiation from quasars sometimes.
Cer- Certainly, sometimes they get those theories that they just need that data and they got to go track it down.
Yeah. How are you finding the Gamma Quadrant so far?
It's been an adventure in the fullest sense of the word. Um, you know, so many new people and species to make first contact with, so many species that we do know so little about to learn more and establish stronger relationships. It's a whole new world, if you will.
And yeah, you've made some good first contacts, I take it.
Out of character, I assume so.
You the game we ran oh so long ago is still canon.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We have had some successes and some that haven't gone the way that I would have preferred, but that's the way the universe works, I feel.
It is the way of the job, isn't it?
Yes.
Good. And while my ship is not necessarily a warbird, um, I'm glad to see that the Federation has put a ship out here that can handle a conflict should it arise. Um, these Galaxy class ships have always been a piece of conversation among captains and commanders within the Romulan uh, Star Empire.
It's certainly far from my preferred way of resolving conflict, but it's a way of the universe that I've come to accept as necessary.
Yeah, it does from time to time. It's not always my preferred method either, but from time to time it is necessary. Commander, I'm curious. Have
I'm
you ever
just a
done any?
lieutenant commander, but I thank you.
Have you ever done anything illegal?
Um, Human laws, Starfleet laws. There's a letter and there's an intent.
Hmm.
Have I violated the letter? Yes. Do I hold myself accountable to following the intent? I do.
Would you perhaps like to violate the letter again? And as she says that, she pulls out a bottle of what you recognize as Romulan ale. And it is illegal in that the way that Cuban cigars are illegal because there's no trade. It's not necessarily like, oh, well, this is the worst thing ever, but like there's no formal trade, so it's not available, so it is therefore illegal kind of thing.
Well, I think it'd be bad form if I didn't accept your gracious gift.
Always the diplomat, and she smiles and kind of pats you on the shoulder lightly. Well, her one of her junior officers produces a few glasses from one of the trays that's coming by. She pours you some. She pours herself some. It's this beautiful blue color. Um, can I get you to roll? Let's say daring and medicine.
Okay. Can you tell me what the difficulties?
Difficulty's a 1.
Okay. Um, So daring plus medicine is a 12.
Still not bad. It could be a whole lot worse.
Right. What's our momentum at?
3.
3. I'd like to buy one just in case.
Okay, sure. So you'll spend them. You can also, and I'm just throwing this out there, you can also give me threat to buy a dice.
But we have momentum.
Okay. Yeah, so that puts us down to 2 momentum.
Okay. All right. So unfortunately, I rolled a 20.
Oh!
And then I rolled a 15, but I did roll a 4. I don't think any of my focuses are necessarily great in this unless I get to use diplomacy, in which case it'd be a critical.
We'll let you use diplomacy, and you can earn that momentum back. Fantastically, though, we'll clue our people in at home. So there's always a complication range. And games typically start with a complication range of 1, which is just on a 20, there's a complication. It's a critical failure. There's something else that happens. I can take it as threat, which I'm not gonna, or I can put into place something that could cause problems. For instance, Zeke, I don't think you've ever had Romulan ale before.
No,
I think you're
let's see.
allergic. What do you think?
I will accept that. Yeah.
Okay.
And,
So
and our
Oh
chief
no.
officers.
that was not a planned timing thing. That is just serendipitous. So as you kind of smell the ale, it has a very striking aroma. You take a drink of it, and at first the flavors are bold and kind of not aggressive so much as just like very forward in what you're tasting.
Okay.
And then something about it just doesn't seem right, and your throat starts to itch a little bit, and you like your left eye starts to blur just slightly.
At that, I would be looking for where the nearest exit is.
The commander, her eyes go wide, and then she drops her glass and moves to start to kind of unknowingly fall. Dr. Haskins.
Yep.
You there's a commotion, and as you turn to look, Zeke has dropped a glass with blue liquid in it and has seemingly fallen to the ground while the Romulan is holding on to him. Like,
I'm gonna
yeah.
push my way through the crowd, like, out of the way, medical emergency.
Can I get you to roll, let's say, reason and medicine? And I'm not sure what focuses you have that might apply, but I'm sure there's one.
Emergency medicine.
Yeah, we'll give you that one. That was a good one.
Okay, so you said reason and medicine?
Mm-hmm.
That is 2 successes.
Okay, yeah. You just needed one. So you'll generate a momentum. Do you want extra information?
Yes.
No. Okay, so that'll leave you at 3. Oh, I just dropped them. That's great. That's okay. That's why we have a handy dandy Roxy on the background. That leaves us at 3 Roxy. We should be at 3 momentum. There was one generated earlier, I think, that you might have missed. So you can see that he is having an allergic reaction. It's a little more pronounced and a little different than what you've seen in the past, but also it's a foreign substance from a foreign planet. Like, there's a lot of things that are going on here.
Right.
One of the other medical officers, one of the other doctors, brings you the med kit from the room. You quickly put some a shot in the
Hypospray.
neck, a hypospray in the neck. Zeke, everything kind of clears up for a second, but everybody has turned to watch. And then you hear the Romulan quietly say, just so that you and probably the doctor can hear, well, maybe it should be illegal. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ambassador. I had no idea. I'm very sorry.
As best as I can stammer out as I'm regaining my breath, I had no idea either, and I hold you not accountable at all.
I'm gonna whisper it kind of, how much of that did you drink? You know that's like an instant drunk, right?
Just a sip.
Let's be careful.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, a little more careful this time. I'm so sorry, Ambassador. Um,
If you might give me a moment, I'm going to step out and freshen myself.
Of course, of course. She steps away, and one of the security officers just comes over and helps you up and kind of walks you towards the door. Um, Keed, you hand everything back to the other doctor, who kind of puts it away and is going to go, refill or do whatever happens in the background that you don't have to worry about. The Romulan Commander Terrell turns to you and says, "You are." You are Commander Haskins, is that right?
Lieutenant Commander, but yes,
And you're the Chief Medical Officer.
correct.
And you are half Klingon, half human. Is that also correct?
If it makes a difference, but yes, I'm mixed parentage.
So I had heard a rumor. Did you punch a commanding officer once?
Yeah, it was. Yes, it was during the Dominion War. I served on the USS Galaxy, and of course, were had a lot of casualties coming into sick bay, and our chief medical officer at the time. I'm trying to figure out how to put this diplomatically, but he kind of lost his head and was making some bad decisions and wouldn't back down. So I forced the issue.
You feel a hand, almost like the full arm, come slapping across your back. And you hear your cousin say, "I knew you had it in you. I knew it." And he kind of shakes you in that oh so uncomfortable way.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the blood of Strata. That is it. That is it. And the Romulan smiles a little bit. It not a lot, but for a Romulan seems very complimentary to the situation. Like she's enjoying herself. And she
Yeah.
says, "Captain, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Commander Terrell." And he says, I'm Captain Vasork of House Strata. This is my cousin, Lieutenant Commander Haskins." And her just the one eyebrow goes up, that whole Spock. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and she says, "Interesting. I'm glad that you were here to help the ambassador. I'm very sorry. Um, I would offer to leave the Romulan ale with you, but I'm concerned for the safety of your crew. To be honest."
It's all right. I'm hoping she can see the absolute discomfort on my face right now,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, it's not a problem, ma'am. Most Usually most people don't have that kind of reaction to Romulan ale. It's not like it's poison to many species. I know that it hits harder than whiskey in a lot of senses. We'll just, we won't spread around what happened to the ambassador, now will we?
Oh no, we wouldn't want to pass around rumors of such things. Rumors of commanding of a high-ranking officer losing themselves in a moment.
Yeah. If you decide that you would like to, share, maybe kind of take into consideration not offering it to many of the Starfleet personnel here.
The your Vasork says, "I've never had Romulan ale," and she smiles and takes a glass and pours him a glass and hands it to him. And you've seen her sip it. Zeke kind of sipped it, and he just tosses it back, and then throws the glass on the ground. Says, well, that burns. Well, that's a good burn. That's a real good burn." And then he slaps you on the back again. That was quite quick thinking there, cousin. I think you saved a man's life today.
I didn't. I may have saved his dignity. I don't think his life was in any jeopardy.
Oh no, no one from the House of Strata can speak so lowly of their gifts and their accomplishments. You saved a man's life, and
Saved.
it's about
I've.
that time the captain walks up as well, and he says, "No, I think I agree with the good captain. I think you saved a man's life today, Doctor.
I appreciate it, Captain. Thank you for that.
And he begins to speak to the captain and the commander in a way that allows you to flee the scene.
Slip away.
Um, so, Chevrin, where have you been during this? What happened? What were you doing when you saw the ambassador lose a little bit of footing?
I will do a quick scan of the room when everyone is sort of distracted towards the goings on, and just to keep an eye on everyone to make sure no one's slipping away
Sure.
or having faith in the medical
Sure.
chief medical officer, but also worried that it might be a setup.
Sure. So I would say let's have you do an insight security roll for me. We're going to give it a difficulty of 3. So this is going to be a
All
tough
right.
roll. And do you just have space tactics, or do you have tactics in general?
I have command tactics.
We'll go ahead and let you
Um,
apply that. That's fine.
all right. I think I'm going to spend a momentum if no one minds.
Definitely.
And if you want more than 1 dice, because that means that you're gonna need 3 successes on 3 dice. You can get more than
Yes.
1.
And you said that was a control
No, insight
security?
security.
Insight security.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah, I do think I'm going to buy a die with threat.
Okay, just the 1. Okay,
So we're up to
go right ahead.
4. All right. I have actually 4 successes.
Fantastic. So you're going to generate 1 momentum, which will, I'll describe what you see, and then we'll decide if you want to spend that or not. So you see the Tal Shiar Major is eyeing the Cardassian captain. And as all of this kind of happens all at once, the his name is Major Rackle, takes some strides over. The goal moves over to meet him, and as this happens, and the kerfuffle and then the impending conversation afterwards, they exchange some words and then part. Do you want to spend that momentum for anything, or you want it to go to the pool?
Can I spend the momentum to figure out what words
Yeah.
were passed?
We'll say I'm not going to give you the whole conversation, but we'll say that you can read lips and maybe pick up just enough of it to get the intent.
Yeah.
You
I do
hear.
also have the.
Go ahead.
Let's say I do have the what is it called? Sensory replacement for my artificial eye.
That's a good point. What does that specifically say?
It says I gain an artificial sense trait. The artificial sense trait, which can be used normally. In addition, when the character uses the obtained information momentum spend, they may ask questions or be given information not normally available with organic sense.
That's fantastic. So between the little bit you can hear, but mostly the lip reading, you piece together the conversation, and it goes. The major says, "I know what you've been doing with the pirates," and the Gull says, "I haven't been doing anything other than chasing them, Major." And the Major says, "I know what you've been doing with the pirates. The Obsidian Order isn't going to protect you anymore. I'm going to prove that you're doing it." And the Gull says, "I'm sorry, Major. I have no idea what you're speaking of." And then they part.
Is this the captain that we had worked with to catch
Yes,
the pirate?
the Gold to Kenny is that same character. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And do I have any reference for the Black Order?
The Obsidian Order is the
Obsidian
it
Order.
was so during the Dominion War, Romulus, I'm sorry, the Tal Shiar and then Cardassia's intelligence agency, the Obsidian Order, decided they were going to work together and build a fleet of ships that could cloak, and they were going to go blow up the changeling homeworld. And then they got raffle stomped to death, and all of their ships were destroyed. So there, for a long time, there was no real Tal Shiar, and the fact that there's a major here, he is probably the highest ranking Tal Shiar member, or very close to it, because they're a skeleton now. But the Obsidian Order, because of then the Dominion War and them joining the Dominion, they've never reformed. So there is no Obsidian Order anymore, or if there is one, it's barely in a renewed infancy, and they don't really have any full strength.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So that's the information you pull from that.
All right.
So that actually acts in tandem with cold reading. I would say that was probably diplomatic. I'm fine with that. You still have another question?
Okay.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
I think you missed it, but he spent a threat to get an extra die. He gave you a threat to get an extra die.
Oh, I did miss that. Well, then there's a threat that puts us at 4. Fantastic. Why are I don't know if those numbers are right, Rox, but we'll talk about it here in a second. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, though that is right. Never mind. Cool.
All right. For my other question, I would say the way they're interacting, are they familiar with each other? Is this like a cold warning, or are they rivals? Are they?
This is a cat and mouse cops and robbers move, with
Okay.
the major playing the role of the cop, obviously.
Yeah. But he definitely has more information about the pirates than.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And actually, with that, we're going to take a break. Before we go to break, a couple of things I want to mention to everybody. First and foremost, hey, did you see that little heart right below us? Like just down, kind of right over here? You want to click on that, because that's going to tell you to follow us. That means every time we go live, they're going to notify you. And then we show up on your left-hand side when you log into Twitch. It's super easy. Just click the heart. Be our friend. Follow us. Number 2, if you have a Prime subscription, did you know you get a free subscription to a Twitch channel? You can do that now. All you want to do is click on that subscribe button and click on Twitch Prime, and it's going to give you a free subscription. It costs you nothing more than you already pay, but it gives us a little bit of money, because that's how Amazon does things with Twitch that they own. If you wanted to do that, we would be very thankful, and we would love it. If you want to be very, very generous, like Shawn has just been, and gift some subs, that'd be fantastic too. If you want to sub at any level, we would love that. That'd be all fantastic. But yeah, if you're enjoying yourself, consider subbing. That'd be great. Our Discord is available, as you can see in the chat. That's available out there to join us. You can talk with us. You can talk with the cast here, other members of the cast that will meet next week, and so on and so forth. Oh, there's Greg. Thank you, Greg. Always, every time, Greg. Greg is fantastic people and has given a lot. I mostly to knock Shawn out of #1 spot. Sorry, Shawn.
I know it happens every time.
Yeah, there's that. Then also at the very bottom, you're going to notice that there's a little magnifying glasses. Those are called Cthulhu's. If you want to click on those, you can actually add momentum and threat to the pools. They're a little expensive, but they can really change the course of the conversation, and especially like during combat, they can make a big difference. Star Trek Adventures is very regimented in how I build encounters, and threat lets me maneuver around that. So it's really good in what it does. So if you wanted to make the combat harder, that's a way to do it. And then also just to keep in mind, if you wanted to name a character, because we get crew members that I've got 9 players, and I've got between 800 and 1,000 crew members. I've got a couple of people we can name. So if you wanted to name characters, let us know, because there's some ways to tip that we will allow you guys to name the characters, or even if you had an idea of like, oh, I want the science officer to be on the ship, and I want him to specialize in this thing, and I want them to have this name. Fantastic. Hit the tip button. They will be immortalized. I promise you. and they will join the crew, not as a full crew member, but as what we call a supporting character, which means that when we need a science officer, and we need a second one, our science officer will have backup. So those are all fantastic things you guys can do. So we're going to take a quick break. There's going to be a countdown on the screen. We'll be back in about 10 minutes or so. And when we come back, we'll get right back into the story, okay? We'll see you guys in just a minute. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Voyages of. I'm Matt, still here. I'm here with our crew. Before we get back into the storyline on the Cerynitis, I did want to mention this Thursday, we've got the next episode of Illuminated Page. That's our Call of Cthulhu stream. Wow, that one. So we've been playing that one for a little bit. We'd be happy to have you guys come out. We are towards the very end of the Masks of Nyarlathotep storyline, and then we're going to be gearing up for a new adventure with some like side adventures between, so that we can give some breathing room for the the heavy impact of Call of Cthulhu. That's 7 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch right here on this channel. We'd be happy to see you then. And then next Monday, we'll be back with the Voyages of for the second part of this episode with Keed will be back, but we'll have 3 other cast members back with him. Not Chevron, Halada, or Zeke. They will be somewhere else in the party. But we'll be back on next Monday at 7 p.m. for that. And then next Thursday will be Growing Shadows, which is our Ninja Crusade 2nd edition game run by John Thompson, who, while you guys aren't seeing him on chat, he is, or on stream, he is definitely in chat, hanging out and having a good time. He also designed the video, the intro video, and the countdown between, and you'll see the credits at the end. He's a very, very talented guy, great storyteller. You should definitely come out for those. So we'll get back to the story at hand. Chevron, I think we left off with you, and I want to touch back with you. Do you want to do anything with that information you just gathered? Rob, you are muted. Yep, that's okay.
Sorry about that. I would like to pass on that information to our chief of security, and also probably have them discreetly tailed.
Okay.
To make sure that we get information, any other information that may be.
Okay. There is actually a specific role for that, and it is control and security. To dispatch a security team, essentially, is what it does. So we'll just see how well you do at that.
And what's the difficulty on that?
It's a that's a good question. I think it's difficulty a 1. We'll just stick with a 1. It doesn't matter.
Okay. That is 2 successes.
2 successes. Fantastic. So you're going to gain 1 momentum. Do you want? I don't know if you want to do anything with that. Create an advantage. Create a problem for them, or just be discreet with it.
I will create an advantage just to give our people a little bit of bonus.
Give some more eyes to the situation.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Get the people, give them proper orders on how to discreetly tail people. Make sure that.
Fantastic. That's great. Okay, so that'll leave us at 3 momentum since you spent that 1. That's fantastic. Great. Okay. So let's slide back over. Do you want to mention that to the first officer, maybe?
Yes, I will.
Okay. So you catch Lada having just finished up a conversation with a junior officer from one of the Klingon ships. And the Klingon kind of wanders away drunkenly, and then kind of you head over to talk with her.
I just learned some unfortunate information about the Cardassian Gull is the title.
Yes.
Yeah, the Cardassian Gull that we looted a few weeks ago. Apparently, according to the Romulan major. The Romulan major, he is likely in league with the pirates. Yes. So we will. My plan was to. I pass this information on to the chief of security that there's some form of bad blood between the two, and then after this we can figure out what we would like to move forward with this knowledge.
Absolutely. That would explain somewhat why he was so concerned about the major being here. But I think everyone's a little concerned about that, so I hadn't put too much behind it. Had you heard the report that they lost the pirates?
I had not. No.
Yeah, apparently
So
there was an escape attempt, and the official report is that all the pirates were killed along with 2 of the Cardassian crew.
I will suggest we put in a requisition for the security footage from this because it was to be a joint effort between the Cardassians and the Federation. So after this, we can.
Yeah, that seems like a good way to move forward with that.
You the two of you kind of meet up for a minute. The captain has been making his rounds. He kind of walks out into the corridor with one of the Romulan commanders and a couple of other Federation crew members. It looks like the group of them are headed off to maybe the holodeck. You've seen some groups going in and out of the holodeck. That holodecks are in free use, and they're not far. They're down the corridor just a bit, and that was part of the intention. The goal and the major are both still there, although they are both at the other end of the room from each other and are definitely not making eye daggers at each other, but still discreetly making eye daggers at each other. And then the Klingons some of them have dispersed. There was a little bit of a let's go see what we can fight discussion. But they seemed in good spirits, like you would expect Klingons to be. Although I would say a lot of their junior officers have stuck around. What you would gather from their armor being not that it's badly fitted to them, but just they don't wear it well. That they are science officers. So yeah, there's still a group. It has thinned out a little bit. You know that some of the crew have gone back to the ships or they're rotating out, but nothing bad so far. The what is a very raucous party at this point has pretty much contained itself here and on the 2 decks, the 9th and 10th deck, which is there's nothing super important on any of those decks. So yes, they're eye phasers, as I'm told, not eye daggers. Is there anyone else that you wanted to talk to, Commander Hlada? Yeah, I think Amber, there you go.
Group of
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
There was the other group of traders.
Yeah, the Tarogaran.
Yeah.
You approach their captain, Durzel. He's one that you actually did get to greet as part of them coming onto the ship. He is a very if Klingons had traders, which they do, but this is what you would expect them to act like. They're very aggressive. You don't question the quality of their goods because you might get stabbed. Kind of that's who you're going to be. That's who you're dealing with. But as you approach, it's him, and there are some Klingons there. They all seem to be having a good time. He is clearly drinking blood wine with them, and seems to be doing just fine. And there are a few of his crew around nearby. But as you approach, he smiles in a very kind of disturbing way. Just the way that their face sits, it looks almost like an aggressive challenge. He says, "Commander, good to see you. How is your evening going?"
Good to see you as well. Quite well. How about you?
I've never had blood wine, and I believe that I might have just secured a steady supply, maybe of the lesser quality blood wine. I'm sure that these Klingons aren't going to give up their highest of qualities, but it will go over quite well with some of our trading partners.
Absolutely. Blood wine is definitely an experience.
That it is. That it is. I'm very glad to have the chance to.
Have you had a chance to meet any other?
I've spoken with some of your junior officers. Um, they've been interesting. I would say they're less less sure of themselves than I'm used to. They uh I found others of the Dominion and of my own species to be much more confident in where their strengths are, and these officers I've spoken with today just don't seem to have uh that same knowledge about who they are.
It is an interesting observation. Federation tends to encourage a bit more of a jack of all trades mindset, perhaps.
Yes, I know that I don't know my engineer's job, but I'm betting that if your captain had to, he could get down an engineer and fix some plasma couplings, or eject the warp core if he had to. He seems the capable kind of man.
Absolutely.
So real quick,
Have you had a chance to check out the holodeck?
Shawn bought a momentum. So we're gonna add momentum to the pool, and that'll put us at 4. Um, That's it. I'm just doing that real quick. That maintenance real quick. No, I haven't been to the holodeck. I was interested. I know technology isn't something that you trade for necessarily, but I was hoping that maybe uh, someone could get me in contact with like an engineer, a non-Starfleet engineer that could help me understand the holodeck technology. I think that there's a big potential for a market for that kind of thing. Um, but I don't. I know that the Federation has rules about technology and selling that, and you know, I, I just getting in touch with someone that would be knowledgeable would be helpful.
Hmm. Well, would you like to see a scenario? I can get one queued up for you if you're interested.
Yes, let's do that. And
Absolutely.
he motions for you to lead the way. He dunks his tankard back into the blood wine to fill it up, and he follows right behind you.
Awesome.
So you guys head down the hallway to the holodeck. You pass a couple that are clearly occupied, and you come to the third one, and there are half dozen Klingons, a Romulan, and a couple of Starfleet officers coming out. The Starfleet officers look rough. Like not bloody necessarily, but they're cut and bruised. And they're all chuckling and laughing, like they've had a good time, but they're also like looking towards the direction of sickbay, like dear God, I need to do something about these broken ribs. The Klingon seems fine. The Romulan seems dangerous, just like No cuts, no bruises. Uniform barely scuffed. The Klingons are covered in dirt and grime, and so are the Federation officers. But just the Romulan looks just pretty fine.
Well, that's terrifying.
And one of the lieutenants that comes out and says, Commander, it's all yours. I just cleared the last file. Have a good time. I'm going to head off to sickbay, and hopefully I'll be able to move well on my next shift.
Rest well.
Thank you. And he kind of, appropriately doesn't salute, because you don't salute in Starfleet, but he moves appropriately, and the Klingons and the Romulan go back towards the party, and then the Federation officers head towards sickbay.
Yeah.
So a couple of the captain's crew members have come with you. There is a member of the command track who is a con officer with you. But he's clearly with you for security purposes. Like, not that he's open carrying, but like he didn't want you going off by yourself with an unknown Dominion captain. So he's just like kind of tagged along without saying a word. So yeah, he's Captain Durzel says, so tell me what scenario do you want to show me?
You cut out. I heard tell me what?
What scenario you want to show me?
What can I pull up what the group before us just did?
Yeah, you absolutely can. So it is combat training exercise 17. It lists a couple of beasts from Ruapente that are which is an ice planet, which are quite dangerous. But they are in a like a Colosseum style setting, and then there's a list of weapons you can choose from, both hand to hand and ranged.
Would you be interested in trying what they just came out of?
Yes, let's. Why not? If you just have to promise me if I die in this, that one of my men will take my body back.
You won't die in this. And if you're injured, we'll definitely get to take them care of.
Yeah, I did see that doctor earlier. It saved Dan's life today.
He's one of the best.
It seems to be. So you guys walk in. You find yourself in almost like the Roman Colosseum setting, with like spectators and everything. And there are two large ice beasts with like these. Like, they've got 3 claws. 2 of them extend probably 3 or 4 feet. These are like 20, 25 feet tall. The last one is short, but instead of being like kind of rounded like the other claws are, this one is almost like a knife. So it looks like it scoops and then stabs with it. Both of them are quite large. And then there are some weapon racks, and they just kind of stand there like chuffing and scratching at the ground while you guys pick up weapons. The captain grabs a batleth and swings it around and puts it back down, and then he grabs like this mace-looking thing with like almost like a beak-looking part coming off of it, and he kind of swings that around. He says, "I like this." And a couple of his crew members pick up Federation phasers, which are replicated, but they still work like phasers. What do you grab?
Probably like a phaser and a long knife.
Okay. And then the con officer who's with you, he picks up a Romulan disruptor, and he kind of takes kind of like a wingman position to you, like to back and to your right. And he says, the captain says, "All right, how do we start this?"
I'm assuming I know.
Yeah, so it'd just be a voice command, like computer start program. So we're not going to go into combat because
If everyone's ready, we just let the computer know.
yeah. We're not going to go deep into combat, but what I am going to have you do
Yeah.
is roll. You can roll either command, or I'm sorry, either control or daring, depending on how you're going to approach this fight in a very controlled, specific option or manner, or are you going to like dive into this and like really get in there? And then the skill you're going to roll is fitness. And this would not have anything to do with balance or climbing, so your prehensile tail is not going to apply.
I'll go with
You mean
the
security for?
safer.
Yeah, did I not say security?
You said
Should
a
be-
fitness, which is one of the
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
attributes.
yeah. Security. So command or daring, and security.
All right, control and security. So I need to do 13.
Okay, and then do you have a focus and hand phasers?
No.
Okay. All right, go right ahead.
Got 1 success.
Okay. So as you guys go through the combat, you all spread out. The monsters kind of charge at you. The first few moments is a matter of kind of gauging how fast they are. You've not done this particular scenario before. How fast they are, how strong they are. You watched one of the guys, one of the Tarograns, get kind of tossed by a backhand from one of these things, and he goes a dozen feet or so. You see the computer, you're used to seeing it, but the force fields kind of appear not quite transparently behind him to kind of slow the fall so he doesn't just like break something. But he does hit the ground relatively hard, like not hard enough to knock the air out of him, but not hard enough to hurt him. And you spend the time kind of corralling one with your phaser, and if they get close enough, you give them a slash with the knife. Can I get you to give me another roll? And again, it's depending on how you're going to handle it, Commander Daring, or Controller Daring, and then definitely Security, unless you have another suggestion for kind of how you'd like to do it. Your target number is going to be 1, but the more successes you get, the quicker the combat will go, if that makes sense.
Right. Absolutely. We're still going to try to be safe because I'm letting them blow off steam. I don't want to get.
No, I got you. That makes sense.
3 successes.
3 successes. So you will generate 2 momentum. Would you like to create an advantage for the other Tarograns? So we'll spend one of those. Is it 1 or 2? You'll spend both momentum just to establish a new advantage. What does that look like? Well, how are you helping that happen?
I would like to try to distract it so that they can blink it.
Perfect. That's a great idea. So, as you kind of circle
get around behind it.
Yeah, you kind of circle around behind it, and it starts to move towards one of them, and you use your hand phaser to kind of
cut out again.
No, you're good. Yeah. I think you might have for a second, but you kind of use your hand phaser to shoot it kind of in the shoulder, not enough to hurt it, but as it turns around, you watch the captain run up with that mace and hit it really hard in its back leg. And as it turns, the mace has these pins coming out of it. It's stuck in there, and it kind of rips along that, and the monster the creature kind of like drops onto 3 of its legs, and doesn't seem to move. And as he goes to give it the killing blow, it kind of shimmers out of existence, and he looks a little confused for a second, and then looks at you, and there's just that same strange grin on his face, and he seems to be having a blast. Can I get another role for again, daring or control and security? I think Amber, are you still there? Okay, there we go. So probably control and security again. Okay, so go ahead and roll it again. Difficulty of 1. Did you hear me, Amber? Yeah, she's okay. So while she's lagging, let's switch over to. Okay, there she goes.
Oh no. 1 success and a complication.
Oh, complication.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're hearing you now. So the
Oh,
complication. So the 1 success
yeah.
will be
And I got 1 success.
the 1 success will be enough to succeed, and
I
then
got 1 success and a complication.
so the other the one that got knocked down gets back up, and the 3 Tarogans kind of work together to bring it down. The con officer who's with you assists with you, like kind of distracting it and giving them a chance. Unfortunately, as that last creature falls,
I think it's lagging. I'm sorry. I got 1 success and a complication.
as that creature falls, it actually ends up hitting you, and you're going to take 3 stress, which will be the damage that kind of sits there. It'll go away at the end of the scene. It's not a huge deal. But yeah, you are knocked to the ground. The wind's knocked out of you a little bit, and as you kind of sit up a little bit to get back up, the captain is standing over you. He offers you his hand and pulls you up, and the crowd around you is cheering in excitement and success. And he says, "Commander, that was the danger. Almost felt real." And I think that's what people want. That's what people will pay for. Danger that couldn't really kill them. I'm sure there's a way. I saw uh, my engineer get knocked down. I saw what happened there. Those force fields protected him from any real injury, but it still felt like those creatures were here, and we could really feel the heat of their breath and the danger of their claws. If I could get a hold of this and I could start building these and selling them, I could make a lot of money. All right, we're gonna switch over to Zeke. Uh, Zeke, you are you've walked the halls for a couple of minutes. The security officer with you is really just kind of hanging around to make sure you don't like pass out again. Everything pretty quickly went back to normal. It's more of a just gathering your dignity back,
Right.
more than anything. Um, so you have been kind of wandering the halls a bit. Um, are you? Can you give me, um, say, an insight and security roll?
Alrighty. What's my target?
It's gonna be a target of 2, and we
Okay.
currently have 4 threat and 4 momentum. If you want to spend any of that.
Yeah, I'll take a momentum. I want a 3rd die because insight and security I only have a 12.
Okay. Go. So you're spending momentum. Okay.
Yes.
Good deal. So we're down to 3 momentum. Go ahead.
Does I don't think any of my focuses are probably going to help me for whatever I'm checking for.
Let's give you
2.
psychology would be fine.
Okay. So then I'd have a critical for 2 successes, and then I have 2 failures, a 16 and a 17.
Okay. So you'll get enough to get a success. You don't generate
It
any
is
momentum.
definitely an engaging form of entertainment.
You as you kind of are walking around, you notice that there are groups moving in and out, back and forth between the holodecks and Dapple Doe. You also see some of them go back to the transporter rooms to transport away. Everything seems to be pretty normal until you notice a Romulan kind of by themselves. They're not doing anything dangerous, but they do seem to be noting that there are so along the corridors is a glass panel that you can activate. It's all one giant computer screen, and they are accessing it and not doing anything questionable. As in, they're looking at like, oh, tell me about Earth, or tell me about like just essentially looking through the encyclopedia of the ship, but they're by themselves, and it seems a little odd.
So I'd likely approach and say, "What's striking your fancy today?"
Can I get you to give me a let's say presence and command roll?
Sure. Am I trying to coerce someone into taking or refraining from a specific course of action?
Yeah, let's say you are. That's fine.
All right, then I may swap medicine instead of command.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
So you said presence?
Yeah.
So presence plus medicine is 15. What's my target, sorry?
It's going to be a 1.
Okay. I'll just roll the 2. One success with an 11 and one failure with a 17.
Fantastic. So the Romulan, the gentleman looks up and you can see from his rank, he's a sub commander, which means that he is military and not intelligence. You know enough about their structure, um, and he looks up and he says, "Oh, I'm sorry, Ambassador. I was just thought I would learn more about Federation worlds. We don't get a lot of information. I have not spent any real time in the Federation, and I've always been curious. Your government and the Starfleet has been successful in ways that are unique, and I've always wondered if maybe the Romulans are lacking something by just being Romulans, and the Remans, but they don't really count."
Well, you're more than welcome to access the information that the ship has available to you. And if you'd like any firsthand accounts, I'm happy to share my perspectives.
Where did you
Where did I grow up? Sorry, you cut out.
where did you grow up?
Um, on a yet to be defined agricultural frontier colony.
Fantastic. And did you find that the culture was mostly Terran, or did you have a mix of Andorians and I don't know Tellarites or whatever Vulcans?
It was primarily Terran. There was an Andorian here and a Vulcan there, but it was a colony established, from an envoy from Earth many years ago.
Did you grow up? Were you taught like? I assume you were taught by humans about human things. Did you deal with any like Andorian, I don't know, ingenuity? Like, did you learn about how they? I read that they're it's an ice planet. So did you learn like how they live in ice all the time and like experience any of that?
I didn't experience any of it. I haven't had the pleasure of visiting their homeworld. I did not learn about it in my upbringing. It was certainly a part of the many courses I took while I was in Starfleet. But um, a lot of my education was um, a little bit of self-taught. A lot of the frontier colony was kind of, how to live, agriculture, how to get by. We did some trading with other, colonies that you have to do out there on the frontier. And so my parents were, um, they were farmers, but they also did quite a bit of trade. And seeing how those negotiations and discussions took place and those types of things um, sparked kind of my interest in diplomacy.
I see. And so you would say that the multicultural aspect of the Federation didn't really take a stronghold until you were at the academy?
I didn't internalize it until I was at the academy and surrounded by a lot of other cultures. Like it was a concept that I was aware of, but not something that I had really kind of captured and grasped and um, made real to me.
Can you roll insight and science for me?
Sure. What's my
And
target?
you're gonna have a target of 2. Psychology is going to apply.
Well, insight and science is an 11 and a 2, so that's only 13, and that doesn't give me a great critical success range. What's our momentum at?
3.
If the group doesn't object, I think I'll grab from the momentum pool again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So roll 3 dice. I'm looking for 13. I got only 1 success, and it's not a critical. I have a 16 and a 19 as well.
Okay. So he says, yeah, I was taught by Romulans. I was raised by Romulans. We learned Romulan war games. We learned Romulan science. Um, the Remans didn't have any real impact. We learned a little bit about some of the past off of Romulus, but the majority of what I dealt with was in fact Romulan. And I wonder if the strength of the Federation comes from their ability to not be just human. So, for instance, you've got a commander there that's Andorian, so he's going to have a different way of approaching things that I don't think that we have on Romulus. And I don't know. What do you think about a Romulan joining Starfleet?
I think that it would probably, unfortunately, be an uphill battle, but I think that there's a lot to benefit from those shared ideas and cooperation. I certainly believe in those kind of tenets of the Federation, and Starfleet I think also shares those. I mean, it comes at costs. Trying to manage all those different viewpoints and come to consensus is not always an easy thing either. Um,
Why
but
do you think that it would be an uphill battle? I mean, you've had Klingons in Starfleet, and long before Bajor was part of the Federation, you had Bajorans, right?
yes, and the the player, is not aware of any antagonistic relationships between the Bajorans and the
No, just that
Federation. Okay,
they were yeah, no,
right,
no,
right.
yeah.
Um, y- you're absolutely right. It's not impossible, but it's easier for those that are within the Federation. We treat those as a little bit more known quantities. And I would argue to say that, um, based on what little I've known of, some of the Klingons that are active in Starfleet, now and certainly in the past when we weren't as friendly necessarily. um, there were just challenges in that we didn't know their culture very well, and they had to kind of adjust to what Starfleet was versus what perhaps their upbringing was, and um, like these things take effort and take cost. It's not for free that you can just come in and be like, oh, as you said, all of your background and probably all of most other Romulans' background is going to be all Romulan, 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 and not having kind of some of at least being raised as a in a Terran atmosphere and being taught about Starfleet and some of those shared principles and ideas or whatever made it less of a culture shock when I entered in there.
Can you give me a presence and command roll for
Okay.
me? Your target is 1.
Okay, I will not buy a die. That's a 13. And if my psychiatry is in play, then I critical
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
for those.
Or diplomacy, I guess, would actually be the thing you're doing.
Oh,
But yeah.
diplomacy. Okay. I got 112 and 115. So I think I met what you want.
Yeah. So you got your one success.
Yes.
He says he nods and kind of looks off for a little bit, and he says, "Eh, we're taught that Romulan everything is better than what the Federation has. Do you honestly feel that the Federation is better than the Romulans?"
I don't feel that either one is necessarily better overall than the other. I think that the Federation has strengths that the Romulans do not have, and I imagine that then I would be willing to concede that there are weaknesses that the Federation have that the Romulans do not. And I think that it's probably vice versa, but I certainly know that I align more with what Starfleet and the Federation believe in and have seen the good that they can do in the world, in the universe. So, at least for what I want to achieve and the change I want to make in the universe, um, they're doing better than I think the Romulans are for what I understand them to be. But we certainly learned more over the years, but there's still kind of a lot that Starfleet and the Federation don't know about Romulans.
So as you guys are as you're that last bit, you're speaking that last bit. Some a couple of Romulans and some Klingons come by, and some Cardassians go the other direction. And as they kind of clear the hallway, he looks very clearly looks up and down the hallway, steps from what is about appropriate medium conversation length to very close conversation, and then holds out a small chip, isolinear chip. So I believe your computer can read this. This is a way to encrypt any communication you want to with me. As a member of the Tal Shiar, I would be very interested in making sure that the Federation and the Romulans maintain a cordial relationship.
I look forward to working in that manner as well.
And I just want to make sure.
Discreetly palm that in.
Okay, I just want to make sure that Phil is picking up on the fact that he has just made. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says,
And unknown, but now known to me.
yeah. It says, I think that you're right. There are things about Romulans that are better than the Federation. We are stronger in some ways. I would say our guile and our uh, ruthlessness is perhaps stronger than yours, but the Federation's ability to adapt and to change and to come at a problem a different way every time, or a different way enough times that it quits being a problem, is something that I've grown to admire. I wouldn't want to see the exchange of ideas stop. I think it enhances and strengthens both of us.
That sounds promising and intriguing.
I should get back to the party before
Yes,
anything
yes,
concerning.
yes. I have duties to
Yes.
attend to in this event as well.
It was a pleasure to meet you, Ambassador.
A pleasure. Did I catch your name?
You, I am uh, Subcommander Thulur, or Tholer.
Okay.
He wanders back towards the party, and seems as nonchalant as possible, like as is a practiced nonchalance
Yeah.
that he did not have moments ago.
I'd like to try to grab one of my attendants when I go back into the room,
Mhm.
and I want to hand him or her the chip and say, "Put this in my office immediately."
Okay. Yeah, they take it and head directly to your office. Uh, Keed.
Yes.
Yes. Your cousin has wandered off finally to
Thank
go
you.
fight something, but not before coming back over and demanding that you promise to play Peercy Squares sometime in the next couple of days during this. He doesn't have a lot to go to. Like, the conference is mostly about science and diplomacy, and he's gonna go to the things he has to, but he'll skip
Right.
stuff if he can.
Yeah.
So when you have time, he's gonna play Peercy squares with you.
Right. I mean, I'll try to get together. We've already Ambassador Zeke already said he would play. We'll need to find a couple more people, but I should be able to do that in the next day or so before this conference is at an end. Trust me, you want more players. It makes it far more interesting.
So as the as he kind of wanders off, another Klingon finally approaches you.
Hmm.
Um, and just like doesn't even approach you, because just kind of like you're watching the room with a drink in hand, and he kind of just sides up to you, also drinking a drink in hand. Nothing seems amiss. He doesn't seem angry. Just he says, "So House Strata, is that what I heard?
The house my mother belongs to.
They've House Strata has served the Empire well for many years.
They have. I mean, from what I've been able to tell.
It's a great honor to be a member of that house. You should be proud
Uh,
of that."
well, unfortunately, I don't really consider myself a member of that house because my mother has nothing to do with me. And I didn't know I was a member of this house until I was 15, 16.
He pulls his pocket out of his hand and has something in it. He says, "Your mother's aware, and she does want something to do with you." And he hands what's in his hand to you, and it is the House Strata emblem, like they were wearing on their baldric, like your cousin's wearing on his baldric.
Right.
And he says, uh, "That is her personal emblem." And while I would love to give you the other gift she sent. I don't think that pulling the house knife out right now would have the intended reception that she wished. So that will be available to you when you choose to have it.
Kind
Um,
of not, kind of fist over, not instead of just holding it nicely, it's kind of like
sure.
tucked in my hand. And I'm like, I'll have to think on that. Honestly, to be honest with you, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
I am Sergeant Stoss.
Sergeant Sauce, I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure how I feel about this because for the longest time, my mother wanted nothing to do with me, and honestly, she straight up said that to me when she left my father and I. The empire was more important to her honor in serving it than it was to have as she put it, a half breed child tarnishing that honor.
Times have changed, and sometimes parents make mistakes.
I will have to think on that.
I want to make sure you're aware that she is prepared to name you as her child and deal with any dishonor that others may see in that.
Is she still on the home world, or is she out?
She is on Kronos serving house matters, but all you need to do is declare yourself of House Strata, and she'll know and claim you.
Is there a time limit on this, or is this something that you need right now?
She only wishes that you know that you have that option. When you choose to take it is up to you, and if you don't, she will know. She will take no offense and see no dishonor from you because of it.
I appreciate your words. Thank you. It's something I will consider with due diligence. I will. Yeah, Haskins is very kind of stressed. Not stressed, but shaken to his core that something that he's profoundly believed all these years may not be true. But he's also suspicious because it seems like it might be something his mother wants from him now that he's in a place of
Can I have you roll control and command for me?
control and command. What is? Am I
Target
looking
is
for?
two. Target
Target is
number is
two.
two. Yeah.
Uh, I am going to use one of our momentum if everybody's okay with that.
You only have 2. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure you're aware of that. I'm good with it. I just want to make sure you're aware.
Okay.
Can always earn stress.
Threat.
Threat, stress, whatever.
That was control and command.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 2 successes. I got a 11, a 3, and a 16.
Okay. He turns to you and he says, "You'll also find a chip in the emblem that will allow you to contact the High Council should you need to. There is an interest in maintaining open communication, regardless of what the captains decide here in the Gamma Quadrant."
You do understand that my first loyalty right now and always will be is to the Federation. You understand that, correct?
I don't speak of your captain. I speak of our captains. If your captain wishes to speak to them, you can offer that tool.
Understand.
Well, he gives you one of those slaps on the back, which I'm sure by now you really, really hate. Well,
Gotta love the Klingons.
Commander Haskins, it has been a pleasure. Blood wine for you, and he hands you a full one that you don't know where it came from. You do see the Klingon behind him that handed it to him. He hands you his. He holds it up and smashes it against yours, sloshing blood wine everywhere, and he takes a big drink. Do you drink?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
you realize you've had blood wine before, right?
right. Yeah.
You realize about 4 drinks into this that not only is this of a higher quality than you're used to, it is much more potent than you're used to. Much more potent. Not to say that you are immediately drunk and disorderly, but you can see why the Klingons are having such a good time.
Right. I'm gonna be. Well, you certainly did bring a fine vintage with you.
And he hammers you on the back again and laughs and laughs. Chagrin. The time has the evening has kind of slowed. People are starting to go back to ships. The doctor might be a little tipsy. You can kind of see it, but blood wine will do that even to half Klingons. Like it'll get you.
Yeah.
People have come in and out. You did see the commander come by for a moment. She looked like she had been in a little bit of a dust up, but seemed fine. You find yourself kind of watching the party dwindle down, and the Tal Shiar Major is kind of still there, nursing a drink, kind of by himself.
All right. How long have they had a power in this area?
As far as you're aware, the Romulan star vessel Tala, which is the Warbird, has only been in the Gamma Quadrant for 3 or 4 months.
Mm-hmm. And so the Romulans don't have much of a place in Delta Quadrant.
That's correct. You're probably looking at the 3 ships, their entire fleet that is here, and 2 of them are strict science vessels. There's not a lot of military might here.
Mm-hmm.
So she does notice you and doesn't approach,
Yeah.
but makes it very clear that she's open to being approached.
Yeah. I will approach her. Sorry, one more time the name of the organization she's part of, the
Tal Shiar, and her ship is called the Tala.
Yeah. Strange to see the Tal Shiar accompanying science vessels.
We myself and the other majors that were left after the Dominion attack debacle felt that it was important that we look for survivors, if nothing else, so that they could be brought back to Romulus stand trial and be executed appropriately.
Understood. Did you lose many in the attack?
36 ships, 36 warbirds, the majority of the Tal Shiar. I'd say there was maybe a handful of us left at the end of it.
I meant you personally. We've lost so many over the course of the conflict.
I lost a distant cousin and a brother during the war, but they died serving the Empire.
Can I do a reading on her to figure out if she actually is opposed to the people that went off on their own?
Yeah, go for it. Insight and let's say command.
Okay. Difficulty?
2.
I do pretty well with that. Well, I rolled an 18, but I also rolled a 1.
Okay, so
So
you
that
got
would
two
be
successes. Yeah, perfect. No momentum gained, but still 2 successes. And Roxy, we are at 2 momentum. There was some momentum spins that I think you might have missed while you were fixing stuff. So she, it's clear that she is upset about the expenditure of resources. Not an emotion like, oh, darn, those people are gone. I'm really sad about that. But more of a 36 ships is a lot of freaking ships on what she thinks,
Yeah.
was a fool's errand. Yeah, it does count that, Roxy.
Okay.
So yeah, she does. There's a loss. She does disagree with what they did.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to? There are momentum in the pool that you could spend to ask questions, and since you have cold read, that it might be opportune time to get, because you can ask a couple of questions. It doesn't have to be off of momentum you generate. You can spend other momentum for that.
Yeah. I think I kind of learned what I was hoping for. I wanted to see if she was like staunchly they are traitors, or she was just saying it because that's the thing that you say.
No, I get that. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
I am making it a personal mission to try and find survivors, refugees from the war.
Yes, I read your file. You were stranded for some time.
Yes,
Saved
that is a word for it.
saved several of your crew members, the majority of your ship, even.
I would say less saved the majority and caused the loss of several.
On Romulus, we have a saying that guilt is like a Tarkasian razor beast. Eventually, it will eat you.
I can see that. Less guilt and more atonement that I seek.
It's understandable. I don't know that I would have requested a demotion and then found myself back in the service of our military.
No, I retired from service afterwards and was only brought back as a personal favor to the captain.
You can see her making notes within her mind, like she is definitely writing all this down. And and the captain served underneath you, didn't he?
Yes, he was my first officer.
I found him. There's not a lot of joviality on Romulus. It's disconcerting.
He's much better served in his position now as captain of the diplomatic envoy as opposed to the first officer on an Andorian warship.
He is quite the diplomat, that is for sure. I'm very interested to see what happens. We will, of course. I'm sure that there were Federation prisoners taken during the time. If we find anything, we will pass it along, and I would assume that the Cerynitis would do the same.
Of course.
Excellent. So, do you feel more ships will be joining your fleet? Is that the intention?
I have to imagine eventually, yes, as we recuperate again from such a grievous conflict.
And it was my understanding that Binary is it's a small ship, but one of your, I believe they're called Nova class, right?
Hmm.
They are primarily science vehicles.
Yes, with the lack of information that anyone has on the Delta Squadron, we figured that exploration and science would be key. In addition to that, they will also help us. Odd readings will lead to refugees, of course.
Of course, of course. I would be curious to see a ship like that. I've seen an Intrepid class ship maneuver and fight, not just in the war. I saw it. There was one um, patrolling the Badlands when I was stationed near there. I've been told the Nova class operates in a similar fashion. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yes. On me as a person, I'm not sure,
Sure.
but I'm assuming that my character would be at least passively familiar with the various ships of the Federation.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, can you give me a insight and command?
Insight and command. And the difficulty?
Uh, 2.
2.
Yeah.
We're running late in the evening, so I'm going to go ahead and spend one of the 2 momentum if everyone's okay.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Right. And what exactly am I rolling for?
You're getting a read on what she's trying to do.
Okay. I'm not assuming that tactics would Federation protocol possibly help in this?
Yeah, let's go ahead and say it does. That's fine. Yeah.
All right, then I have 3 successes and 1 complication.
Oh, and a complication. Fantastic.
Yep.
She is pumping you for information. Nothing that is too deep, but more of this is she's manipulating you into seeing if you're going to tell her things that you not necessarily shouldn't, but aren't like common knowledge. She's
Hmm.
she's prepping you. This is the
Yeah.
beginning. You've seen this happen with other intelligence officers. This is the beginning of working an asset.
Hmm.
Um, and but you see as you realize that, you see her eyes recognize your realization, and it stops
Hmm.
like dead. Says, Commander, it has been a long evening. It was a long war. I have a very early symposium tomorrow to discuss some nebula. I don't know. It's unimportant, really. I'm just going to go because that's what we have to do. Your ship has been fantastic. Your hospitality, if you don't mind passing it on to your ambassador, has been impeccable. Short of the small mistake made earlier this evening regarding Romulan ale, which I assure you was an accident and nothing else. It has been nothing but pleasant for us, and I appreciate that.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that.
Excellent. All right. Let's go back to Commander Halada.
Did you take the complication as threat, or did it play out?
No, no,
Sorry.
no. So she caught that he caught on.
Oh, okay.
That was that was the complication. Sorry, I didn't come out and say that. I should have. That's a good call. Commander Halada. The night has kind of worn down. The captain comes back in. You have not seen him disheveled before. He's a little disheveled, but he's happy and has been laughing. He says something about chasing Klingon thunder rabbits, and you're not sure what that is, but it sounds
No.
dangerous. And but he had fun. he just like his hair is not quite straight, his jacket's a little muffed, but he seems to have had fun. He approaches you and he says, Commander, how did your evening go? I can't hear you. There it goes.
Some complications with the pirates, apparently, but I got some interesting information about what the Dominion. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Hello? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
I can. Yep, can hear you.
Okay.
You're good.
It's been a fairly good evening. Got lots of interesting information, which is always fun.
There has been a lot of concern and intrigue here. There's a member of the Tal Shiar, and I'm almost positive something's going on with the goal beyond just some dead pirates. Would you agree? I also find it suspect that the cousin of our chief medical officer just happens to be in the Gamma Quadrant. I can't hear you at all. All right. That's all right. We are close enough to the end. I'm going to call it. It's not a big
Yes.
deal. We'll come back to this. Or we'll wrap it up tonight. So this has been the first episode. This one was named wow, somewhere sheep's clothing. That's what it was named. I should have.
If that broke one.
Thank you guys for coming out. Again, we are going to be on every Monday, so we'll be back next week. The chief medical officer will be back probably to heal people, saving lives one ambassador at a time. We will be we'll have our science officer Charlie, our chief of security Rosrin, and our con officer. Sorry, Roxy. Our con officer Victra will be joining us next week for Somewhere Sheep's Clothing Part 2. And then the week after that, we will be back for. And then there were some, which is another story that I will be running, featuring a mystery by Agatha Christie. And we'll see how that goes. As a reminder, we have on Thursday we have Illuminated Page. We're wrapping up the Masks of Nyarlathotep storyline. You should come out for that. Week from Thursday, we have Ninja Crusade Second Edition. That is Growing Shadows that John Thompson runs. It's a fantastic story. They're having a lot of fun over there. There's an awesome battle wagon. I'd like to point out that the battle wagon is sweet. I actually really love it. Plus, they've got shirts that we really think are great. You can find links for all that stuff here on Discord for sure. No, here on Twitch. We're on Twitch right now, not on Discord. And then we just did the world premiere of John Thompson's new system for Gutterpunk. It is a fantastic game. That will be up live on our YouTube channel, which you should definitely go check out. Is right there in our chat. Go over there, check it out. John wrote the rules and the story all himself. It's fantastic. We get great play from some industry people that I thought was great. That was fantastic. They all could come out. John had a lot of fun. I think all of our players had fun. I thought it looked fantastic. So you should definitely check that out as well. And if you know what, if you're like, man, it is Wednesday night. What am I doing tonight? And you can't watch us because we don't have anything on Wednesdays. You can go over to Lore and check out Deadlands and see the fantastic Will run a game over there. He is really great at what he does. There it is, twitch.tv/Lore Explorers. So it's Deadlands Blood Drive is on Wednesday at 7 p.m. That's, 10 p.m. Eastern. That's a little bit later. Still going to be a great time. So definitely go check that out. And then throughout the night, there were link trees that popped up. If you feel like any of our players did a fantastic job and you want to say, hey, thanks to them specifically, you can go over there and buy them a coffee. I think people are buying books. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do. Check out their link trees and support them individually. Support the channel by subscribing or following. That'd be great too. And yeah, we'll be back next week with the next part of this story. Thank you guys very much for coming out, and we will talk to you guys next week.